The emergency signal came through at midnight, station time. Ambassador Taeho was still awake in his quarters when the alarm started blaring across the Galactic Council space station. He grabbed his uniform jacket and ran toward the main chamber. The council room was chaos. Dozens of alien species filled the seats, their translators creating a wall of overlapping voices. High Counselor Melthari stood at the center podium, her feathers ruffled in distress. The large viewing screen showed a planet covered in dark, moving shadows. "Please, you must help us," a soft voice spoke through the speakers. The image shifted to show a tall, slender being with pale blue skin and large, dark eyes. "I am Silence of Dawn, Prime Speaker of the Velaran people. Our world is dying." Taeho found his seat and listened carefully. The Velarans were a peaceful species. They lived quiet lives, communicating through telepathy and emotion. They had no weapons, no military, no concept of war. Now, something had found them. "The Krathic swarm arrived 3 months ago," Silence of Dawn continued. Her voice trembled. "They consume everything. Our forests are gone. Our oceans are turning black. Our people are being taken, absorbed into their hive. We have shields protecting our last cities, but they will fail in 3 weeks. Maybe less." The screen showed footage of the Krathics. They looked like insects mixed with something worse. Each creature was the size of a human, with too many legs and sharp mandibles that dripped with acid. They moved in perfect coordination, millions of them acting as one mind. Wherever they went, they left nothing behind but bare rock and death. "How many worlds have they destroyed?" asked a council member, a crystalline being that refracted light when it spoke. 12 confirmed civilizations," Melthari answered. "The Krathics cannot be reasoned with. They do not communicate. They only consume." "Then we must send military forces immediately," said another counselor. Melthari's feathers drooped. "That would take months to organize. We would need to gather ships from 100 worlds, train crews to work together, establish supply lines. The Valorans do not have months." "Surely we can do something," Taeho spoke up. All eyes turned to him. Many of the aliens looked uncomfortable. Humans were new to the Galactic Council, only members for 5 years. Most species still saw them as primitives from a dangerous world. "Ambassador Taeho," Melthari said, carefully, "I appreciate your concern. But Earth has very little to offer in this situation. Your species is too young, too inexperienced in galactic affairs." Taeho felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his face calm. "Perhaps. But my people know something about fighting to survive. Earth taught us that lesson every day." Yes, we know," an amphibious counselor said dismissively. "You come from a death world. Dangerous animals, extreme weather, diseases everywhere. But warfare on a galactic scale requires organization, resources, and proper ethical protocols." "How ethical will it be when the Valorans are all dead?" Taeho asked quietly. The chamber fell silent. On the screen, Silence of Dawn looked at Taeho with desperate hope in her eyes. Melthari cleared her throat. "We will of course do everything we can. All member species will contribute ships and supplies. In 3 months, perhaps 4, we should have an adequate defense force ready." 3 months? Silence of Dawn's voice broke. "We will be gone in 3 weeks." "I am deeply sorry," Melthari said. "But these things take time. We must follow proper procedures." Taeho stood up and walked toward the exit. "If the council will excuse me, I need to make a call." He went back to his quarters and activated his secure communication link to Earth. The connection took a few seconds, then a face appeared on the screen. Admiral Jiwon looked tired, but her eyes were sharp and alert. "Ambassador," she said, "I saw the council broadcast. The Valorans?" "They need help now," Taeho said. "The council says 3 months minimum. These people will be extinct by then." Jiwon nodded slowly. "What are you asking me? How fast can you deploy a fleet?" The admiral smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Terra Defense has been on standby since we joined the council. We knew something like this would happen eventually. I can have the armada ready in 72 hours. Full deployment? Every warship we can spare. 47 capital ships, 200 fighter craft, 15,000 soldiers. We will also bring medical teams, engineers, and supply vessels. Tejo felt relief wash over him. Do it. I will handle the political fallout. Understood. One more thing, Ambassador. Do we follow Galactic Council warfare protocols? Tejo thought about those protocols. No nuclear weapons, no kinetic bombardment, no chemical weapons, limited engagement zones, mandatory ceasefires every 12 hours. Rules designed by species that had forgotten what real war looked like. Do whatever you need to do to win, Tejo said. These people are dying. We did not come all this way to watch another species go extinct because of paperwork. Jiwan saluted. The fleet will be ready. See you in Valoran space, Ambassador. The transmission ended. Tai-Ho sat in the darkness of his quarters for a moment. Then his door chimed. He opened it to find Melthari standing outside, her feathers flat against her body in shock. We monitored your transmission, she said quietly. Did you really just deploy a military fleet without council approval? Yes. Do you understand what you have done? Earth could be expelled from the council. There will be sanctions, investigations, accusations of warmongering. Maybe, Tejo said. But the Velerans will be alive to see it. Melthari stared at him for a long moment. Your species keeps a full military fleet on permanent standby? Just waiting? We come from Earth, Tejo explained. Every species on our planet evolved to survive. The insects, the bacteria, the weather, the other humans. Everything tried to kill us, every single day. We learned that hoping for peace is wonderful, but preparing for war is necessary. That is barbaric. Perhaps, Tejo agreed, but in 3 weeks you will see what barbaric really means. And you will be grateful for it. Melthari turned and walked away without another word. Tejo closed his door and began packing his things. He would need to travel to Valoran space himself. Someone had to make sure the galaxy understood what was about to happen. Humanity was going to war. And the universe was about to learn why Deathworlds created the most dangerous species of all. Earth Orbital Command looked like a disturbed beehive. Admiral Jiwan stood on the command deck, watching through the massive windows as ships began moving into formation. 47 warships, each one designed for one purpose, to fight and win. The flagship, TDS Indomitable, sat at the center of the formation. Captain Hyunsik was aboard, running final checks on all systems. His crew of 800 had been training for this moment since Earth joined the Galactic Council. Now that moment had arrived. Admiral, all ships report ready, the communications officer announced. Jiwan nodded. Begin departure sequence. We leave in 1 hour. Across the fleet, soldiers prepared their equipment. Sergeant Dong Hyun inspected his squad's weapons in the armory of the assault carrier TDS Hammer. Each Marine carried enough firepower to level a building. They also carried medical supplies, rations, and emergency equipment. They would need all of it. In the science wing of the Indomitable, Dr. Nari reviewed everything known about the Krathic swarm. It was not much. The species operated as a hive mind, millions of individual creatures controlled by one consciousness. They reproduced rapidly and consumed all organic matter they encountered. Their biology was strange, almost more plant than animal in some ways. We need samples, Nari muttered to herself. Live samples if possible. I cannot find a weakness without understanding how they work. You will get your samples, Captain Hyunsik said from the doorway. Once we engage the enemy, I will make sure you have everything you need. Nari looked up. That might be difficult in the middle of a battle. Hyunsik smiled. Doctor, my crew has trained for boarding operations in zero-gravity, toxic atmospheres, and active combat zones. Catching a few bugs will be easy. Meanwhile, in the fighter bay, Lieutenant Yuna conducted her final briefing with Raptor Squadron. 20 pilots stood before her, the best fighter crews in the fleet. They would be the first to engage the Krathic swarm. Listen up, Yuna said. We have all seen the footage. The Krathics move in coordinated swarms, thousands of bioships acting as one. Our advantage is that we are individuals. We can think independently, adapt quickly, and make decisions they cannot predict. What about their numbers? A young pilot asked. There are thousands of them. Then we kill thousands of them, Yuna replied simply. We also have something they do not. Drones loaded with explosives. We send the drones first, follow with missiles, then clean up with guns. Questions? There were none. The pilots knew their jobs. The fleet departed exactly on schedule. 47 warships activated their faster-than-light drives and vanished from Earth space. They would reach the Valoran system in 6 days. News of the deployment spread quickly across the galaxy. Within hours, the Galactic Council reconvened in emergency session. Ambassador Tai Ho stood before them, ready for the accusations. This is unprecedented, Melthari declared. Earth has mobilized a war fleet without council approval. This violates every protocol we have established. The Valorans are dying, Tai Ho said calmly. We chose to save them. The council can punish us later. You carry nuclear weapons, an insectoid counselor hissed. Kinetic bombardment systems, chemical weapons, these are banned by civilized species. They are effective, Tai Ho replied. The Krathiks do not care about your rules. They only understand strength. And what of casualties? Melthari asked. Your battle plans include acceptable losses. You discuss how many of your own people might die as if it is normal. It is normal, Tai Ho said. War has costs. We accept those costs to achieve victory. The council erupted in angry voices. Species that had not seen real combat in centuries could not understand. They had forgotten that survival sometimes required sacrifice. In space, the human fleet continued its journey. The soldiers trained every day, running combat drills with live ammunition. This shocked the few alien observers aboard. Most species trained with simulations, never wanting to risk actual danger. Tech Officer Ki Young worked in the electronic warfare section, developing countermeasures for the Krathiks communication system. If they used pheromones, as Dr. Nari suspected, then jammers could be built. If they used electrical signals, those could be disrupted. Every advantage would matter. On the 4th day of travel, Captain Hyun-sik called a meeting of all ship commanders. The communication screen showed dozens of faces, each one serious and focused. We have new intelligence, Hyun-sik began. The Valoran shields are failing faster than expected. We have 9 days, not 3 weeks. Can we arrive faster? One captain asked. We are already at maximum FTL speed. We arrive when we arrive. What about the Krathiks numbers? Another captain questioned. Latest scans show over 5,000 bioships surrounding the planet. Then we destroy 5,000 bioships, Hyun-sik said. Our strategy remains unchanged. Raptor Squadron engages first, draws them away from the planet. Capital ships move in with heavy weapons. Marines board any ships that remain intact. We extract samples for Dr. Nari, then finish the job. And if they overwhelm us? A young captain asked quietly. Admiral Jiwon appeared on the screen. They will not overwhelm us because we do not fight alone. We fight as a coordinated unit. Each ship supports the others. We have trained for this. Trust your crews, trust your tactics, trust each other. The meeting ended. Every captain returned to their ships with renewed determination. Dr. Nari continued her research, reviewing old reports from the civilizations the Krathiks had destroyed. 12 species, each one peaceful and unprepared. Each one had tried diplomacy first. Each one had died waiting for help that came too late. Not this time, Nari whispered. This time, the cavalry arrives on schedule. Private Mi Young, a young combat medic, prepared the medical bay aboard the Indomitable. She had supplies ready for treating both humans and Valorans. The alien anatomy was different, but the principles of emergency medicine remained the same. Stop bleeding, stabilize breathing, prevent shock. She hoped she would not need most of it, but hope was not a plan. Preparation was. On the 6th day, the fleet dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Valoran system. Sensors immediately detected the Krathiks' presence. The enemy had surrounded the planet completely, their bioships forming a dark shell around the world. So many, someone whispered on the bridge of the Indomitable. Yes, Captain Hyun-sik agreed. Many targets. Lieutenant Yuna, launch Raptor Squadron. All ships, battle stations. Let us show these creatures what happens when they threaten the innocent. Admiral Jiwan's voice came over the fleet-wide channel. All personnel, this is the Admiral. We are humanity. We came from a world that tried to kill us every day. We survived. We adapted. We grew strong. Today, we fight not for ourselves, but for those who cannot fight. Today, we show the galaxy what Deathworlders are truly capable of. All ships, advance. Let us end this swarm. The human fleet moved forward as one. 47 warships against 5,000 bioships. By every logical calculation, it should have been suicide. But logic did not account for fury. Logic did not account for determination. Logic did not account for a species that had clawed its way to the top of the food chain on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. The Krathiks detected the approaching fleet and turned to face them. The swarm began to move, thousands of creatures acting with one mind, confident in their numbers. They had consumed 12 civilizations. They believed they would consume a 13th. They were about to learn the difference between prey and predator. The Krathiks struck first. 300 bioships broke from the main swarm and rushed toward the human fleet like a wave of dark water. Each ship pulsed with sickly green light, organic weapons charging to fire. Raptor Squadron, engage, Lieutenant Yuna commanded. Her fighter shot forward, followed by 19 others. Behind them, small drones raced ahead, each one carrying enough explosives to destroy a city block. The first wave of drones hit the Krathiks formation. Explosions bloomed in the darkness of space, silent but brilliant. Dozens of bioships vanished in fire. The swarm did not slow down. More ships simply filled the gaps. Missiles away, Yuna called. 20 fighters launched their payloads. Smart missiles tracked individual targets, weaving through space until they found their marks. More explosions. More destroyed bioships. Still, the swarm came. Now the fun part, Yuna muttered. She pushed her fighter to maximum speed and dove into the enemy formation. Her guns blazed, tearing through the organic hulls like paper. The other pilots followed, 20 fighters dancing through thousands of enemies. On the Indomitable's bridge, Captain Hyunsik watched the battle unfold. Impressive, but they need support. All ships, open fire. Target the clusters. 47 warships unleashed hell. Railguns fired solid projectiles at a fraction of light speed. Plasma cannons turned bioships into clouds of superheated gas. Laser batteries carved through armor like knives through flesh. The Krathiks had never faced weapons like these, but they adapted quickly. The hive mind analyzed the attack patterns and changed tactics. Instead of charging in straight lines, the bioships began to swarm, surrounding individual human vessels. They are learning, Dr. Nari observed from the science station. The hive mind is processing our tactics in real time. Then we teach them something new, Hyunsik said. Prepare boarding teams. I want samples, and I want them now. Deep in the bowels of the Indomitable, Sergeant Dong Hyun and his squad prepared to launch. They wore heavy armor and carried enough firepower to fight a small war, which was exactly what they were about to do. Remember, Dong Hyun told his team, these things are not mindless. They think as one, which means they are predictable. When one reacts, they all react the same way. Use that. And do not let them touch you. Their acid can melt through armor in seconds. The squad loaded into the boarding pod, a small armored craft designed to punch through enemy hulls. Outside, the battle raged. Inside, the Marines checked their weapons one final time. Launch, Hyunsik ordered. The boarding pod shot from the Indomitable like a bullet. It crossed the distance to the nearest Krathiks bioship in seconds, then slammed into the organic hull. Cutting tools activated, melting through the outer layers. Atmosphere hissed out into space as the pod breached the interior. Go, go, go! Dong Hyun shouted. The squad poured through the breach into darkness. Emergency lights on their helmets showed a nightmare landscape. The interior of the bioship was more like the inside of a living creature than a spacecraft. Walls pulsed. The floor was soft and warm. And everywhere, Krathik soldiers waited. The first creature lunged from the shadows. Dong Hyun shot it 3 times in the center mass. It fell, green fluid leaking from its wounds. 10 more appeared. The squad opened fire, their weapons lighting up the darkness with muzzle flashes. "Keep moving," Dong-hyun ordered. "We need to reach the core." They fought through corridors of flesh and chitin. The Krathiks attacked in waves, but they were not prepared for humans. Every species the swarm had faced before ran from danger. Humans ran toward it. Private Mi-young followed the squad, her medical equipment ready. When one Marine took a glancing hit from Krathik's acid, she was there immediately, neutralizing the chemical and treating the burn. "You will live," she told him. "Now keep fighting." The squad reached the ship's core, a massive chamber where the bioship's brain resided. It looked like a huge tumor covered in pulsing veins. Dong-hyun planted a beacon on it. "Doctor, we have your sample." Back on the Indomitable, Dr. Nari activated a teleporter beam. The beacon and the brain vanished, reappearing in her laboratory. She immediately began analyzing it, her instruments recording everything. "Got it," Dong-hyun said. "Now we blow this thing, set charges." The Marines placed explosives throughout the core chamber. They had 60 seconds to get back to the boarding pod. They made it in 45. The bioship exploded behind them as they raced back to the Indomitable. The pod docked, and the squad emerged, tired but victorious. Meanwhile, the main battle continued. The Krathiks adapted their tactics again, attempting to board human ships. They cut through hulls and poured inside, expecting to overwhelm the crews. They discovered that humans had prepared for this. Every corridor had defensive positions, every junction had automated turrets, and the crew fought with a ferocity the swarm had never encountered. On the destroyer, TDS Vigilant, Tech Officer Ki Young triggered his electronic warfare systems. He had been studying the Krathiks' communication patterns, and now he knew how to disrupt them. A pulse of electromagnetic energy burst from his ship, targeting the pheromone receptors the creatures used to coordinate. The effect was immediate. Dozens of bioships suddenly moved erratically, their coordination broken. They crashed into each other, fired weapons at random, turned in circles. "It works," Ki Young shouted. "Admiral, I can disrupt their hive mind, but only in short bursts." "Do it," Admiral Ji-won ordered. "All ships, focus fire on the confused targets." The human fleet exploited the chaos. Coordinated fire destroyed the disoriented bioships by the dozens. The Krathiks tried to compensate, pulling back their affected units, but this created gaps in their formation. Lieutenant Yuna saw the opportunity. "Raptor Squadron, through the gap. Target the planet-side ships." The fighters shot through the opening, racing toward Valoran's atmosphere. Behind them, the capital ships pressed the attack, keeping the main swarm occupied. On the planet below, the Valorans watched in amazement. The humans had arrived only hours ago, and already the sky was clearing. Ships burned overhead as they fell from orbit. The dark shell surrounding the world was breaking apart. Silence of Dawn, the Valoran leader, stood on a balcony watching the battle. Ambassador Tae-ho stood beside her, having arrived on a fast courier ship. "Your people are dying up there," Silence of Dawn said softly. "Dying to save us." "Yes," Tae-ho agreed. "That is what we do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves." "But why? We are strangers to you. We offer nothing in return." Tae-ho looked up at the burning sky. "Because we remember what it was like to be helpless. Humanity nearly went extinct many times on Earth. From disease, from famine, from each other. We survived because sometimes someone helped. Now we are strong enough to be the ones who help." In orbit, Dr. Nari made a discovery. The Krathiks' brain sample showed something interesting. The creatures used pheromones not just to communicate, but to suppress their individual instincts. Without the pheromone signal, each creature would revert to simple, animalistic behavior. "Captain," Nari called, "I can create a chemical weapon. It will break their coordination permanently, but it needs to be deployed directly into their largest concentration." Hyun-sik smiled. "A suicide run. Probably. Then I will do it myself. Prepare the weapon." Admiral Ji-won's voice cut through the communication channel. "Negative, Captain. You are too valuable. I am ordering." With respect, Admiral, my ship is the fastest and best armed. I have the highest chance of success. Hyun-sik paused. Besides, my crew volunteered. All 800 of them. There was silence on the channel. Then Ji-won spoke quietly. Understood, Captain. Execute your plan. It has been an honor serving with you. The honor is mine. Admiral. The Indomitable broke from formation and accelerated toward the thickest part of the swarm. Every weapon fired at once, clearing a path. The other ships covered its advance, drawing enemy fire away. Deep in the swarm's center, Hyun-sik armed Dr. Nari's weapon. It was a simple device, really. A container of chemicals attached to a powerful dispersal system. When it detonated, the pheromone disruptor would spread through millions of bioships. All crew, abandon ship, Hyun-sik ordered. You have 90 seconds. Sir, his first officer protested, you should come with us. Someone needs to fly the ship into position. That someone is me. Now go. That is an order. The crew evacuated in escape pods, shooting away from the Indomitable at high speed. Other human ships moved in to recover them. Hyun-sik sat alone on the bridge, flying his ship into the heart of the enemy swarm. Krathik's bioships surrounded him, weapons tearing into his hull. Alarms blared. Systems failed. He kept flying. For Earth, he whispered. For humanity. For those who cannot fight for themselves. He armed the weapon and set it to detonate in 3 seconds. Then he closed his eyes. The explosion lit up space like a new sun. The chemical weapon spread through the Krathik swarm like poison. Within minutes, thousands of bioships stopped moving in coordination. They began attacking each other, firing randomly, spinning in confused circles. The hive mind was broken. Admiral Ji-won watched from the bridge of her command ship. Captain Hyun-sik's sacrifice had turned the battle. All ships, full assault. Do not let a single one escape. The human fleet tore through the confused swarm. What had been a dangerous enemy became target practice. Within 2 hours, the space around Valoran was clear. Thousands of destroyed bioships drifted in orbit, but over 1,000 had managed to retreat, jumping to faster-than-light speed. Should we pursue? A tactical officer asked. Ji-won stared at the tactical display. Every military instinct told her to finish the job, but the Galactic Council had been very clear. Defend the Valorans, then withdraw. Do not escalate. Do not pursue. Admiral, Dr. Nari called from the science vessel, I have been analyzing the retreating ships. They are heading toward a specific location. I believe it is their home base. Can you track them? Yes, and Admiral, there is something else. I found data in the bioship samples. The Krathiks have not destroyed 12 civilizations. They have destroyed 37. The Galactic Council has no idea how widespread this threat is. Ji-won felt cold anger settle in her chest. 37 species. Billions of lives. All consumed by this swarm. And more would follow unless someone stopped them permanently. All ship captains, conference call, now. Within minutes, the faces of all surviving captains appeared on her screen. 43 ships remained combat-ready. 4 had been destroyed in the battle, including the Indomitable. Over 1,000 humans were dead, but they had saved the Valorans. I am recommending to Earth Command that we pursue the Krathiks to their source, Ji-won announced. This swarm will rebuild and attack again, possibly within months. We have a chance to end this threat permanently. The Galactic Council will not approve, one captain said. I know, which is why I am not asking for their approval. I am asking each of you to volunteer. This will be dangerous. The Council may declare us outlaws. Earth may disavow our actions. But it is the right thing to do. There was no hesitation. Every captain agreed. The fleet would hunt the swarm to extinction. On Valoran, Ambassador Tae-ho received the news. Silence of Dawn stood beside him, her telepathic abilities allowing her to sense his conflict. You disagree with this decision, she observed. No, Tae-ho said slowly. I agree with it completely. But I know what it will cost politically. Earth's reputation in the Galactic Council will suffer. We may lose our membership, Yet you support it anyway. Because some things are more important than politics. Your people are safe now. But what about the next species the Krathiks find? And the one after that? We have the power to stop this. We have the responsibility to try. Within hours, the Galactic Council learned of humanity's decision. The reaction was immediate and furious. Council enforcer Talvex, a reptilian species known for strict adherence to law, personally led a fleet to intercept the humans. "You will stand down," Talvex commanded when his ships caught up to the human fleet. "Your authorization extends only to defending Valoran space. Pursuing the Krathiks into unclaimed territory violates Council law." Admiral G1 appeared on the communication screen. "With respect, Enforcer, we will not stand down. This swarm has destroyed 37 civilizations, not 12. Every day we delay, they grow stronger. That is not your decision to make. You are one species among thousands. You do not make policy for the galaxy." "Then make better policy," G1 replied. "The Council has known about the Krathiks for years. How many warnings did you ignore? How many requests for help did you delay? The Valorans almost died because you moved too slowly. We follow proper procedures. Your procedures kill people," G1 interrupted. "Now move your ships. We are going through." "I cannot allow that. You cannot stop it." The two fleets faced each other in deep space. The Council ships outnumbered the humans 3-1. But Talvex had seen the battle recordings from Valoran space. He knew what humans were capable of when they decided to fight. "If you do this," Talvex said carefully, "there will be consequences, sanctions, expulsion from the Council, possibly military action against Earth itself." "That is a problem for tomorrow," G1 said. "Today, we hunt." The human fleet activated their FTL drives and vanished. Talvex did not pursue. He reported back to the Council, who erupted into arguments that would last for weeks. The humans followed Dr. Nari's tracking data through 7 star systems. In each one, they found evidence of the Krathiks, ruined planets, dead civilizations, entire worlds stripped of all life. Sergeant Dong-hyun led Marines through the ruins of a city on one world. The buildings still stood, but they were empty. Not a single living thing remained. Even the soil was dead. "This is what we are preventing," Dong-hyun told his squad. "Remember this. When people question why we are here, why we fight, remember these empty cities." Commander Sujin, the fleet's intelligence officer, worked with Dr. Nari to analyze Krathik's genetic samples from multiple locations. What they discovered was disturbing. "The swarm stores genetic memory," Sujin explained to Admiral G1. "Every creature carries data from every world they have consumed. Languages, technology, even cultural information. It is all encoded in their DNA. Can we use that? Yes, we can extract the coordinates of their home cluster, the prime hive. It is where they breed and where their central consciousness resides. How heavily defended? Impossible to say, but if we destroy it, we destroy the entire species." G1 considered this. Genocide. That was what they were discussing. The complete extinction of a species. It went against everything the Galactic Council believed in. But the Krathiks had already committed genocide 37 times. They would do it again and again until someone stopped them. "Send the coordinates to all ships," G1 ordered. "We end this." As the fleet prepared for the final assault, Private Mi-young worked in the medical bay, treating wounded from the previous battles. A young Marine sat before her, his arm badly burned from Krathik's acid. "Will we really destroy them all?" he asked quietly. Mi-young carefully applied synthetic skin to his wound. "I hope so. These creatures do not negotiate. They do not surrender. They only consume. How many more species should die while we show mercy to something that has no mercy?" "It still feels wrong. Genocide." "Yes," Mi-young agreed. "It does. But sometimes the right choice feels wrong. Sometimes we must do terrible things to prevent worse things. That is the burden we carry as the strong. We make the hard choices so others do not have to." The young Marine nodded slowly, understanding. Ambassador Tai Ho, who had secretly joined the fleet against Council orders, stood on the observation deck of the command ship. He watched the stars streak past as they traveled toward the Krathix Prime Hive. A message came through from Earth. His government was recalling him, demanding he return immediately. He deleted the message and sent a simple reply. I am exactly where I need to be. The fleet dropped out of FTL at the coordinates provided by the genetic data. What they saw took their breath away. The Krathix Prime Hive was not a planet or a station. It was a structure the size of a moon, a massive organic construct floating in space. Billions of bioships swarmed around it like insects around a nest. Tactical analysis, Jiwan requested. The hive contains the central consciousness of the entire species, Dr. Nari reported. If we destroy it, every Krathix in the galaxy will lose coordination. They will become nothing more than animals. How do we destroy something that large? Antimatter charges planted in the core, but someone would need to get inside and reach the central chamber. Another suicide mission, Jiwan said quietly. Yes, Admiral. Another suicide mission. Lieutenant Yuna stepped forward. Raptor Squadron volunteers. Sergeant Dong Hyun appeared on the communication screen. My Marines volunteer. One by one, every unit in the fleet volunteered. Every single person willing to give their life to end the swarm. Admiral Jiwan looked at them all, these brave humans who had come so far from Earth. We do this together, she said. All of us. We came here to save lives. We will finish what we started. The final battle was about to begin. The Krathix detected the human fleet immediately. Billions of creatures within the Prime Hive turned their attention toward the intruders. The swarm surrounding the massive structure began to move, forming attack formations that blotted out the stars. Admiral Jiwan stood on the bridge of her command ship, calm despite the impossible odds. All ships, execute Battle Plan Omega. Raptor Squadron, you are clear for insertion. Marines, prepare for assault. This is what we came here to do. Make it count. Lieutenant Yuna led her fighters forward, weaving through the advancing swarm. Behind her squadron, heavily armored assault shuttles carried Sergeant Dong Hyun and 300 Marines. Their objective was simple but deadly. Penetrate the hive's outer shell, reach the core, plant antimatter charges, and escape before detonation. Estimated survival rate? Dong Hyun asked quietly over the private command channel. 12%, came the cold reply from Tactical. I will take those odds, Dong Hyun said. To his squad, he spoke louder. Listen up, we knew this would not be easy. But humanity did not climb to the top of Earth's food chain by taking the easy path. We survived because we are too stubborn to die. Today, we show these creatures what that means. The capital ships engaged the swarm, their weapons creating a corridor of fire. Lieutenant Yuna's fighters danced through the chaos, their missiles clearing a path for the assault shuttles. The Krathix bioships swarmed like angry insects, but human coordination and firepower slowly pushed them back. Breaching the outer shell, Yuna called. Her fighters' guns carved a hole in the hive's surface. Marines, you are clear. The assault shuttles dove through the opening. Inside the hive, they found themselves in a nightmare landscape. Organic tunnels stretched in every direction, pulsing with sickly light. The air was thick with spores and the smell of decay. And everywhere, Krathix soldiers waited. Deploy! 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 Dong Hyun shouted. The Marines poured from the shuttles, forming a defensive perimeter. Immediately, the Krathix attacked. But the Marines were ready. Flamethrowers turned the tunnel into an inferno. Heavy machine guns cut down anything that moved. Tech Officer Ki Young, who had volunteered for the ground assault, activated his electromagnetic disruptor, causing nearby Krathix to convulse and die. Move forward, Dong Hyun ordered. Dr. Nari, guide us to the core. Dr. Nari watched from orbit through the Marines' helmet cameras. She had studied the hive's structure for days, mapping its layout. Straight ahead 200 meters, then turn left. The central chamber should be 3 levels down. The Marines fought their way deeper into the hive. Every meter was paid for in blood. Private Mi Young moved among the wounded, treating injuries even as the battle raged around her. When a Krathix soldier lunged at her, She shot it calmly with her sidearm, then went back to bandaging a Marine's leg. Outside, the space battle intensified. The human fleet fought against impossible numbers. Ships were destroyed, but they took dozens of bioships with them. Admiral Jiwan watched her tactical display, seeing her fleet slowly being overwhelmed. "All ships, fall back to defensive formation," she ordered. "We need to buy the Marines more time." "Admiral," her tactical officer reported, "Council Enforcer Talvex has arrived with reinforcements." Jiwan looked at the display in surprise. Sure enough, the Council fleet had jumped in system, but instead of attacking the humans, they were engaging the Krathiks. Talvex's voice came over the communication channel. "Admiral Jiwan, the Council has authorized military action against the Krathik swarm. We are here to assist." "What changed?" Jiwan asked. "You did," Talvex replied simply. "You showed us that sometimes mercy to evil is cruelty to the innocent. The Council has learned from your example. Now let us finish this together." The combined human and Council fleet pressed the attack with renewed strength. The Krathik swarm began to break apart, unable to coordinate against the overwhelming firepower. Deep inside the hive, Sergeant Dong Hyun's force reached the central chamber. It was massive, larger than any cathedral, filled with pulsing organic structures. At the center floated a creature unlike any they had seen. It was enormous, its body covered in neural connections that stretched throughout the entire hive. The hive mind Nexus Prime. The consciousness that controlled billions of Krathiks across the galaxy. "Plant the charges," Dong Hyun ordered. "We have 5 minutes." The Marines worked quickly, placing antimatter devices around the chamber. The Nexus Prime seemed to sense what was happening. It sent wave after wave of soldiers, desperately trying to stop the humans. Commander Su Jin, who had joined the assault team, worked on the largest charge. "Admiral, we have a problem. The detonation sequence requires manual activation from inside the chamber. Someone needs to stay behind." The communication channel fell silent. Every Marine knew what that meant. A death sentence. "I will do it," Dong Hyun said. "The rest of you, get out. That is an order." "Sir," one of his soldiers began. "No arguments. You have your orders. Now move." The Marines reluctantly fell back, fighting their way toward the exit. Private Mi Young was the last to leave, tears streaming down her face as she ran. Dong Hyun stood alone in the central chamber, surrounded by dying Krathiks. The creatures had stopped attacking. Perhaps they understood that their end had come. He activated the detonation sequence, then sat down against one of the charges. "Admiral," he spoke into his communicator. "Charges are armed. Detonation in 2 minutes. Get everyone clear." "Sergeant," Jiwan replied, her voice heavy. "It has been an honor." "The honor was mine, Admiral. Tell Earth. Tell them we did good." "We will. I promise." Dong Hyun closed his eyes and thought of home. Of Earth. The beautiful, terrible world that had forged humanity into what they were. Of the green hills and blue oceans. Of the people he was saving with this sacrifice. The timer reached 0. The antimatter charges detonated simultaneously, releasing energy equivalent to a small star. The Krathik's prime hive vanished in a flash of light so bright it could be seen across the system. With it died the Nexus Prime, the controlling consciousness of the entire species. Across the galaxy, billions of Krathiks suddenly stopped moving in coordination. Without their hive mind, they became nothing more than mindless animals, incapable of organized action. The threat was ended. Admiral Jiwan watched the explosion from her command ship. Silent tears ran down her face. "All ships, cease fire. It is over." The final count was devastating. 4,200 humans dead. 8,300 wounded. 17 ships destroyed. But the Krathik swarm was finished. 37 extinct civilizations had been avenged. Countless future species had been saved. The human and council fleets slowly withdrew from the system. As they departed, Dr. Nari released a modified virus into the remains of the hive, one that would prevent any Krathiks from ever organizing again. They would remain animals forever, unable to threaten anyone. 3 weeks later, a memorial ceremony was held on Velarin. The entire planet gathered to honor the humans who had died. Silence of Dawn spoke for her people, her telepathic words translated into human language. We did not understand your species when you arrived. We saw your weapons and your willingness to fight, and we were frightened. We thought you were like the swarm, creatures of violence and destruction. But we were wrong. You are warriors, yes, but you are warriors in service of peace. You fight not because you love war, but because you love life. All life, even life that is not your own. Ambassador Tai Ho stood at the memorial, reading the names of the dead carved into black stone. Captain Hyun Sik, Sergeant Dong Hyun, so many others. Heroes all. The Galactic Council formally apologized to humanity for their initial dismissal. High Counselor Melthari personally delivered the statement. We judged you too quickly. We saw Deathworlders and assumed barbarians. We were blind to the truth, that the harshest environments create the strongest people. That those who have fought for survival understand its value better than those who have always been safe. Earth is granted a permanent seat on the Security Council. When threats arise, humanity will be our first call, not our last resort. But the real change was more subtle. Other species began studying human military tactics. The Council established a rapid response force trained by human advisors. Peaceful species learned that sometimes peace must be defended with strength. Admiral Jiwon retired after the campaign. She spent her remaining years teaching at the Galactic Naval Academy, where students from 100 worlds learned from humanity's example. Lieutenant Yuna became the youngest admiral in Earth's history, leading the next generation of pilots. Dr. Nari continued her work, now focused on preventing future threats before they could emerge. Private Ma Young opened a medical school that trained both humans and aliens, proving that those who fight can also heal. Commander Su Jin wrote the definitive history of the Krathix War, ensuring that the lessons would never be forgotten. Tech Officer Kai Young developed the electronic warfare systems that became standard on all council ships. And Ambassador Tai Ho returned to Earth, where he was greeted as a hero. But he did not feel like one. He felt like someone who had helped his people do what needed to be done. On Valoran, the children born in the year of salvation were given names that honored the humans who saved them. Every child learned about Earth, the deadly world that created defenders instead of conquerors. Years later, when new threats emerged, the galaxy no longer hesitated. They called for the Deathworlders, the humans who had proven that strength without compassion is tyranny. But compassion without strength is suicide. And every time humanity answered, not because they loved war, but because they remembered what it was like to be helpless. They remembered the civilizations that died waiting for help that came too late. They remembered their own history, the times when they needed saving and found none. So they became what they wished had existed for them: protectors, defenders, warriors in service of peace. The galaxy had learned its lesson. In a dangerous universe, it is not enough to be peaceful. One must also be strong. And humanity, forged in the crucible of Earth's merciless evolution, had become the strongest of all. Not through conquest, not through domination, but through the simple willingness to stand between the innocent and the darkness, no matter the cost. The Valorans had pleaded for aid. The Deathworlder fleet had answered. And the galaxy was forever changed.